Hey everybody, this is Trags, Mike Petralia, alongside Richard Skinner, Skinny of Local 12 in Cincinnati, following a Bengals 37-27 win in Nashville on Sunday afternoon. This is the JungleRoar Skinny Bengals Postgame pod for December 15th. Had to count or check my calendar there. Skinny, it was one of the ugliest wins in Bengal recent history. One of the ugliest wins, I think, in Bengals history, period, when you consider there were 10 turnovers, 6 by the Tennessee Titans, 4 of which I believe the Bengals capitalized and either directly scored on a pick 6 by Geno Stone or eventually got a field goal or a touchdown after the Tennessee turnover. Not only were there 10 turnovers, Skinny, there were 26 accepted penalties in this game on Sunday. For the 400th regular season win in Bengals history, it was not a thing of beauty.
No, I actually labeled it as one of the wackiest wins in Bengals history. Maybe the wackiest win this year for sure. Think about all the things that took place in this game. You had a Geno Stone pick 6. You had a fumble return that was fumbled out of the back of the end zone. You had Sam Hubbard, a defensive lineman, score a touchdown. You had all the penalties you mentioned. The Bengals that don't commit penalties committed 12 or 14 penalties, a bunch of them pre-snap. You had Joe Burrow commit 3 turnovers, one in the red zone, snap a long red zone streak of scoring touchdowns. It was wacky. That was the word I used. In a wacky season where you've lost all these close games, you've scored 33 or more points in games and lost. Last week's wacky win in Dallas, where you actually won thanks to another team blocking the punt. It was one of the wackiest wins I've watched in a long, long time.
One thing I took from this game in the postgame, and I was there both in the press conference room and in the Bengals locker room at Nissan Stadium, is Joe Burrow was not a happy camper after this game. He said the following: I was just frustrated in the day that we had on offense. It was too sloppy. We had too many penalties, too many procedural penalties. I had too many turnovers. It was just a frustrating day on offense. That was Joe Burrow's answer to the question when he was asked about the TV cameras capturing him blowing up and having quite a heated discussion, however you want to categorize it, with Bengals head coach Zac Taylor after that final touchdown with Chase Brown. Joe Burrow was pretty disgusted overall in the execution level on Sunday, and he said, he told us post-game, that's why cameras captured him yelling at Zac Taylor.
Yeah, and if you recall, Mike, and I don't know if you saw it when cameras caught him after the interception he threw in the end zone trying to hit Ja'Marr Chase on that one deep ball in the end zone. It was a diving interception by Tennessee, and he took his iPad and he slammed it to the ground. And I don't want to try to play amateur sleuth, but it was like, why did I make that throw? You could tell he was just mad at himself in that moment. But keep in mind, some of the pre-snap penalties were on who? Cam Grandy. Who's Cam Grandy? I mean, for goodness sakes, Cam Grandy. Right. Some were on Devin Cochran. Who, for goodness sakes, was Devin Cochran? I mean, those two guys actually did some really good things in this game, but you had guys who just aren't on the field, shouldn't be on the field, wouldn't be on the field if not for injury, situations, issues, and yet they are. And I will say this, he has every right to be frustrated. To his credit, it's frustration with himself more than anything else. Maybe frustration with the operation a little bit. But you have guys who shouldn't even be on the field being on the field. And I will tell you, I thought Devin Cochran, outside of an early play or two with Arden Key, where Arden Key one time made him look silly. Oh, he turnstiled him like crazy. I mean, it was literally snap, block, Arden Key is here. Oh, my gosh. I thought, this day is going to be really, really long. And, they gave him some help. They didn't give him help every snap. And I'll tell you what, the kid did a good job. I'm not here to tell you he's the future left tackle of this franchise. No. But the kid did a good job.
So Joe Burrow was hit 5 times. He was sacked, I believe, once, had the one fumble. But overall, I think Sunday could have gone much worse given the fact that Devin Cochran had one career NFL offensive snap before Sunday. One. He had never started an NFL game. And you throw him in, yes, the Tennessee Titans were 3-11 coming into the game. They're now 3-12. But they do have pass rushers. One thing that the Titans can do, or two things, they can get after the passer, after the quarterback, and they can defend the pass pretty well because they have, in part, a very good pass rush. But they've got guys like Arden Key, like Harold Landry. They have got a number of guys that can really, really get after the quarterback. And I thought, Devin Cochran, like you mentioned, he held up okay. He did what I think the Bengals' best hope was for him on the afternoon, and that was not to embarrass himself all afternoon. I think he made some adjustments. Once he got into the flow of the game, he looked more comfortable, and that's all they could hope for on this day.
Oh, my word, by a mile. Because those early snaps, Mike, were like, oh, gosh, how are you going to help this kid? What's going to happen? This kid's going to get, picked on all day long. And after a while, I was like, wait a minute, I don't even notice Devin Cochran being out there. Those early snaps you sure did. I mean, that one Devin, like we were talking about, that Arden Key snap was like, oh my gosh. And yet he held his own. And I'm not here to tell you he's going to hold his own long term. I'm not even here to tell you he's a swing tackle. I'm not here to tell you he's on the roster next year. But to the kid's credit, in the course of that game, as it went along, he did okay. And I think that's a pretty cool part of any kind of sport where you just go, oh gosh, this kid has no business being out there. He's going to get killed. And yet when he didn't get killed, you're like, okay. I mean, there were a few times where that pocket was so pristine. You could tell Burrow was bouncing and going, I got time. And then he makes the right play at the very end of it. Good for him. Again, Bengals fans, I'm not here surmising this is any hope of what Devin Cochran is other than a random Sunday in Tennessee. But man, good for that guy. I mean, good for him.
What I liked, and I asked Joe about this after the game at his news conference, I said, how good of a job did you really think Devin did on such short notice? And he said, I thought he really stepped up big. He had a couple of moments, and he acknowledged that in the first two drives.
Sure.
Then after that, he really settled in. I thought he played great. And another thing that he mentioned about Devin Cochran that kind of leads us into Chase Brown. They both prepare the right way during practice. When they get their reps, Joe Burrow can tell when guys are taking practice and midweek preparation seriously. And I think there's been some criticism of this Bengals team. One of the issues has been that some of the guys, on defense at least, haven't taken this season as seriously as they should. And I think when you see Joe Burrow on Sunday slamming his iPad, certainly some of that is his own mistakes.
Sure.
But when he's yelling at the procedural stuff, at the pre-snap stuff, and he's yelling at Zac Taylor, he's probably thinking to himself, and I'm just going to play mind reader here because that's what we do on the JungleRoar Skinny Bengals Postgame pod, is we get into the mind of Joe Burrow, and he's pissed off that losing as much as the Bengals have lost this season doesn't bother guys during the week.
Yeah, and I will tell you, that point to Devin Cochran, I don't see practice enough. You don't either. We're not there long enough.
None of us do. Right.
I see training camp. I will tell you, they've kept him around for a couple of years. And you can argue that you got to keep somebody around, right? It's, sure. There's got to be a warm body to do the things you're actually the warm body to do. But apparently they've seen enough of him that suggests, listen, this dude's a pro. He's trying hard. It's probably never going to work. We hopefully never have to put him on the field and play. And yet they did, and he did his job. And that's a big, big deal to me. And there were times today on that defensive unit, Mike, especially late, where Lou Anarumo went into kind of a prevent mode. I don't want to get in the whole wormhole of that. But I understand that. I know you do too, of, hey, just you're playing the clock more than anything else. You want to play checkdowns, Mason Rudolph played checkdowns. But you know what you have to do on checkdowns? You got to go tackle. Thank you. Yeah, you got to tackle the checkdown. I mean, that's fine. That last drive was so damned embarrassing for everybody on defense, where it was like, we're good. We're going to win. It's 37-21. We're fine.
There's no pride. There's got to be some pride.
Yes.
Even when you're up by 16 points.
Yes.
Prevent defense, less than 2 minutes to go. Have some pride.
No, I
And
watched guys who didn't even go attempt it. I mean, Miles Murphy on one was like, yeah, you go make the tackle. I'm good. It was on that one check down, and I don't even have it in front of me. You'll know the play I'm talking about. It was a check down to Ty Spears on the last drive where he turned and decided, I'm getting the yards I'm going to get, man. It's garbage time for me. I'm getting what I can get. And he just weaved his way through the defense. I just watched multiple defenders go, you'll tackle him, right? Or wait, no, you'll tackle him, right? We're good here, right? And to me, that's embarrassing. And that's a microcosm of, to some degree, this defense. And you can point to Lou for that if you want. You do whatever you want as a fan. That's fine. You point to whoever you want. I'm pointing to the players for lack of pride. Go make a stop. It's garbage time. Finish this thing off. Let your quarterback go put a knee down 3 times and finish it off, as opposed to them finishing it off in the end zone with a Josh Wiley touchdown catch on an embarrassing 13-yard play at the end of the game. That was ridiculous.
well, I mean, what was Jermaine Pratt doing on that final play?
What was anybody doing?
I mean, all he had to do was drop back like a couple of steps, and the guy's right there.
Yes.
I mean, defend the pass. But whatever. I mean, we are kind of going down.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Let's talk about Chase Brown, because Joe Burrow pointed him out and singled him out post game about somebody who is going, quote unquote, going to be around here for a long, long time.
That's really good.
Loves Chase Brown. On Sunday at Nissan Stadium, Skinny, 25 carries, 97 yards. He had the 1 touchdown on that final drive of the fourth quarter to make it 37-21. In the pass catching game, he was a perfect 3 catches on 3 targets, 16 yards, and he also had a touchdown reception from Joe Burrow. He did a lot. He continues to do a lot of good things and a lot of the right things for the Bengals.
Yeah, I don't have the stat our guy Jay Morrison did earlier this week. I think that's now, 7 straight games for Chase Brown where he's had 90-plus yards from scrimmage. It feels like he scores the touchdown automatically. If you're a fantasy football player, which I am, if you don't have Chase Brown on your roster, you screwed up, and you better get him next year, because he is a multifaceted guy. He's going to get you 4 or 5 catches a game, 40 yards in the receiving game, 60 to 90 yards in the rushing game.
A PPR guy, god.
At least a touchdown either way. He's really, really good. And while remember earlier in the year, it was, oh gosh, why did the Bengals trade Joe Mixon? Look at the fun Joe Mixon's having. Didn't they screw this up? No, and good for Joe Mixon. He's having a good year in Houston. It's been a great fit for him. It's been a great fit for them. They made the right move, and you can see why with this kid now evolving is not just hey, they got a running back. They've got a weapon. He is a major weapon, in my opinion. Explosive weapon, right. Get his hands on the ball. He's good in short yardage, which he doesn't have the body type really to be that guy in short yardage, but he's really good in short yardage. He does all of those things. And so I go back to the point of, I can't remember what the Jay stat was. He and I actually talked about that. He gave me a great trivia question of a Bengals player who had, I think, 8 straight 90-yard from scrimmage games. Who was the last one? And I said, Corey Dillon, James Brooks, Mickey Woods. We were rattling off running backs. He goes, go to the early 70s and go, Essex Johnson, Doug Dressler. We went to a bunch of different guys. He goes, Booby Clark.
Clark. That was going to be my next guess. Yeah.
His rookie season. And I went, oh, wow, that's a pretty incredible stat. And Chase is in that category. It is literally – I did a fantasy football radio interview a couple of weeks ago on Sirius, and they asked me about, who are the Bengals fantasy football weapons today? I said, well, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I said, I'm telling you, if you got Chase Brown, it's 90 yards and a touchdown every single week, not just rushing, just total. And now it's 100 plus and a touchdown and a few catches every single week. He is a major, major weapon. And that's the thing. Think about how many times you might run Jamar Chase down the field. And if they re-sign T. Higgins or whatever they do, the wide receiver, run that guy down the field. The tight end goes down the field and you go, oh, here's the check down. That's part of the thing today for Will Levis. How many times that kid decided to throw a ball into coverage as opposed to going, here, Ty Spears, take the check down. Or here, Tony Pollard, take the check down. And it doesn't sound, it's not sexy. It's not cool. It's not, oh, wow, look at that guy rip a throw. That looked easy. Yeah, you know what? It is easy. Make an easy play. And an easy play is Chase Brown going, gotcha for 7. Oh, gotcha for 12. Gotcha for 15. Gotcha for 30. And those things add up.
Indeed. And I want to move on to another player who had his moment in the sun, but it was very, very short lived. It
Yeah.
was Sam Hubbard, former tight end, as a matter of fact, at Ohio State. How ironic is that? Going split wide down at the goal line, tackle eligible. He screens out and sprints out to his left, makes a fantastic catch for the touchdown from Joe Burrow on 3rd and goal, and he lands on his knee and suffers a knee injury and cannot return to the game. Really, you felt terrible for him. He said after the game that it could be a PCL type injury, but they won't know that until Monday when they do a much more full exam in Cincinnati. But the fact that he caught that pass, the fact that they had put that in there for him, and he had been catching balls, he told us on Friday, to kind of get ready for that moment. And Sam Hubbard was ready for that moment on Sunday. It was a key moment because the Bengals had tied that game at 14. Now, Joe Burrow had committed a turnover as the Bengals were driving, and Tennessee was driving before Will Levis got stripped of the ball upon replay. The Bengals challenged it. Zac Taylor won the challenge. That was a pivotal moment in the game because it looked like, of all things, Tennessee was going to really grab control of the contest. But no, the Bengals forced a fumble from Will Levis. They went down the field, got the touchdown from Sam Hubbard, and I just thought it was a great moment for Hubbard.
I thought it was, too. Obviously, a sad moment for Hubbard, too, because, Mike, if it's really bad, we may never see him as a Bengals player again, right? I mean, we may not. I hope that's not the case. It's a possibility and probably a real possibility. So, but, yeah, it shows you, A, the type of athlete he is, number one. B, those plays always look cute, right? You throw to, I think Detroit today threw to Dan Skipper, an offensive lineman. They throw to Penei Sewell. You see those on occasion, and they're usually clean because teams just lose the guy. This was not a clean play. It was defended pretty well, and it was a good throw, and it was a great catch. I mean, Sam had to go make a really good catch on the ball, and you could see when he landed, you could just see what his knee did to contort, but it just shows you the type of versatility he has. For those who may not know, he was a safety in high school at Moeller. And it's not like Moeller has 290-pound safety. He's not 290, whatever. He's 275. They have normal size safeties, and Sam in high school was a normal size guy. And Ohio State looked at him and went, "We're making you a defensive end." And Sam bulked up over time and bulked up over time and bulked up over time to make himself a quality college player at a high level, and then a draft pick, and then a quality NFL defensive lineman. And yes, his season has not gone well as a defensive lineman. He's played hurt. Father Time's got him a little bit. But I thought that was a cool moment to just be sullied by the fact of makes his touchdown catch and then ruins his knee. And we may never see him play as a Bengal again.
All right. We haven't gotten to Jordan Battle yet. All right. Tony Pollard fumbled the ball at the Cincinnati 39-yard line. He scoops it up. And mind you, this is the next series after Geno Stone had returned a pick six, 39 yards, I believe it was, for his first career NFL touchdown. And there goes Jordan Battle with an escort down the left sideline. And you're like, okay, game over. It's going to be 38-14. We can write our stories, and make our way through a meaningless fourth quarter. What does he do? He transfers the ball from inside hand to the outside hand because that's what he was trying to do. Yes, a little of this, only down by his belt buckle. And he loses possession of the ball a half yard from the goal line. Literally a half yard from the goal line. Fumbles it out the back of the end zone. And he looked up the scoreboard and was like, oh no, I didn't fumble it that soon, did I? And the replay showed, no, you did. You fumbled it just soon enough to nullify what would have been a first career touchdown for Jordan Battle on his birthday weekend. Now, after the game, he told us it wasn't intentional. I wasn't trying to do a celebration of any sort. And I take his word.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being naive here, but I'm going to be naive. I'm going to take his. But what he did say is, never again. I learned my lesson. To me, Skinny, there's too many players on the Bengals who make mistakes like this, who shouldn't have to make those mistakes to learn a lesson like that. You take care of the ball until you are 3 to 4 yards deep into the end zone.
All right, so you and I and a bunch of other people on the beat talk to Zac Taylor every Friday. Some of it's on the record, some of it's off the record.
Sure.
Some of it's about situations, etc. Remember the situation earlier this year, and I'm drawing a blank on the kid's name. He was a Western Kentucky kid who played for the Jets, and remember he did the exact same thing. Actually, even worse. He clearly dropped it. This was Jordan, whatever, shifting it to your point, his point of, or shifting it to celebrate. But this was a player who just dropped it short of the end zone. And we talked to Zac about that, and he said, showed it to him today. We're going to show it to him over and over and over. So if you think coaches haven't shown that particular play to players, like, how does that happen? Don't the coaches show it to them? Yes, they've shown it to him. Zac Taylor talked to us about showing it to them. So he understood, can't do that. Got to get to the end zone. I thought Zac's explanation was a great one. I'm just completely doing this out of context. So I don't have the quote in front of me of, get in the end zone, do what you got to do. At that point, then, 3 or 4 yards deep, then you can drop the ball. There's no excuse for it. You were not shift. There was no reason to shift the ball hand to hand, Mike. That's the thing to me. You can say you were doing it, Jordan, and that's fine. You're embarrassed. Just say, you know what? Simply screwed up, messed up, my bad. Yeah, and he did. It'll never happen again. That's great. That's all well and good. It'll never happen again. It can't happen, period. Stop doing this crap, players. This happened a couple other times this weekend. Stop doing it. Just get to the end zone. You know what? Remember back in the day, Mike? God, I'm so old. You're so old. We're both so old.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, this doesn't happen much. One of my favorite ones of all time. There was a Kentucky punt returner, kick returner. His name was Derek Abney, and he was a great kick returner. I think he returned 5 or 6 kicks or punts in 2002 for touchdowns. And I was covering a Kentucky game. I was covering Kentucky then, not the Bengals, and they played at Florida. And Derek returned a kickoff for a touchdown. And I remember I was standing there because we were going actually down to the field. It was late in the game. And the stadium goes quiet, right? Because Derek returns his kickoff for a touchdown to make it like a one-score game. Kentucky was getting beat. It was close. And I remember Derek got to the end zone, and he literally took the ball, and he touched it down. It was like a slam down of, I scored a touchdown. That's used to be what you used to do. It was called a touch. That's why it was a touchdown. You used to have to touch the ball down in the end zone. Can we go back to that? I'd love to go back to that. Let's go back to that. Just you take it and you go touchdown.
I will guarantee you, coaches like Zac Taylor would be all for that.
Yes.
After what he saw today, I will read you Zac Taylor's quote because it is worth reading.
You know the one I'm talking about. Exactly. Yeah.
It's something we address weekly. We show these clips, and it's not something we can ever have happen. It's within our control. You go 2 yards across the goal line, letters and logos. It's very simple. Then you can do whatever you want to do. We preach oftentimes that it's going to happen to guys that aren't used to carrying the ball and being used to being in that situation. It's not normally a Jamar or a T. So again, I appreciate that the energy he plays with and a lot of the plays he made. That's a situation obviously we can't have, and we expect our team to do better with that going forward. There you have it, Skinny.
Touch. Here you go. Let's do this, Mike. Take it. Touch down. That's why it's called a touchdown.
All right. I think we've touched on a lot here. Just the general overall, the penalties and the turnovers. It's got to be cleaned up in the final 3 weeks. I know where I wanted to go with this. There is still a mathematical possibility that the Bengals make the playoffs. But after the results on Sunday, Miami lost at Houston, Denver beat Indianapolis. So what? And the Chargers lost. They were blown out at home by Tampa Bay. What really needs to happen for the Bengals at this point is they need to win out. Indianapolis still needs to lose another game, I believe it is. Miami needs to lose at least once more.
And they will.
Yeah. And the Chargers at this point, I think, are the more likely scenario to lose out. If Denver wins Thursday night, the Bengals are not able to catch Denver. That's mathematically out the window.
All right, that's a fact. But the fact that Buffalo went to Detroit today to win, and there's a shot for them. It's not completely a shot, but my scenario is more Denver losing the last three, which would include a loss to the Bengals, which would have the Bengals beating them head-to-head now. That would also include the Chargers losing to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs may not have anything to play for in the last game of the season. They may have sewn up the number one seed. They don't have. They're not obligated to play Patrick Mahomes. We don't know where Patrick Mahomes is after today. He got hurt today. Carson Wentz had to come in and finish up. It may be, they're going to rest Pat for a while, or Pat's really hurt. We don't know the answer to all those things. So, yeah, I still think it's an extreme long shot. I do think this. I think we're going to, as beat reporters and people and fans, have the Bengals Chargers on a Saturday 4:25 window, the Saturday after Christmas. I do think we're going to have that.
You mean the Broncos?
I'm sorry, yes. Yeah, I mean the Broncos.
Bengals in Saturday 4:25
Yep,
window.
I do think that.
Well, I've given up any hope of the way the flexing has gone this year.
I'm with you, dude. It's been crazy.
I am not going down that wormhole. I've got so much bitterness and anger towards the way the NFL the flex off the Thursday is what got me. That bothers me. If you want to flex between Monday and Sunday, I get that. But the flex off of Thursday really, especially around a holiday, screwed up some vacation and holiday plans for me.
Yeah, it did for everybody. I guarantee you it did for everybody. Mike, we got a special visitor, by the way. It's my daughter's dog, and here he is, and he's he's being
I love dogs. Right?
I know you do. He's going crazy because I'm talking loud. So there we go.
What's his name, by the way?
His name is Rhett Butler.
That's nice. I like that. Rhett Butler, like Rhett Louder.
No, it's a Gone with the Wind family. I have a daughter named Katie Scarlett. I have a daughter named Tara Lynn, and there we go. We got Rhett Butler. Trust me, it's not. It has nothing to do with me.
I almost feel like not following up that with a meaningless Joe.
No,
Burrow
I love a meaningless Joe Burrow quote.
Absolutely, we're not out of it yet. We've got to play better than we did today going forward, but we need a lot of help from across the league. Teams beating teams that need to lose for us to get in. But as long as we keep controlling what we can control and keep winning, give ourselves a chance. Then he was asked about that being a meaningful carrot that might inspire the team. And he winced and he was like, okay, I'll try to answer this question like I mean it from the bottom of my heart. And it didn't come across that way, but here were Joe Burrow's words. I mean, it's always in the back of your mind until you're out of it, but we know the chances are very slim. What I'm focused on right now is playing as good as we can play, myself playing up to my standard. That's why I was so frustrated, because I didn't feel like we did that today.
That's him. That's him in a nutshell. And he didn't. I mean, Mike, he turned the ball over 3 times. It's not Joe Burrow. One was wacky. The throw to Chase towards the end zone, you could tell he was frustrated where he left the ball. He probably should have left it further towards the sideline. He made a bad ball.
Right.
The one to Yoshavash, I'm still trying to figure that out. You know what? I'm going to say this. Joe Burrow made a stupid throw. Oh, wow. Joe Burrow made a stupid throw. You know what? Joe Burrow's also a human being, and Joe Burrow's allowed to make an occasional stupid throw because that's what human beings do. But yeah, I think that tells you all you need to know about that guy as he's human. And despite all of that, the early interception, the fumble in the red zone that snapped a 42 score red zone streak for this team, which is still insane to think about. 42 trips to the end zone in a row. Yep. They had scored points, and they blew it because Joe Burrow fumbled. Think about how that thing ended, right? It wasn't because of a penalty or this or that. It was because Joe Burrow fumbled. Okay, you're a human, my guy. And then all of a sudden, he throws 3 touchdown passes like, okay, Superman cape's back on. Here we go. Didn't throw anything in the second half. The second half was wonky because of all the Tennessee turnovers, and the Bengals defense was on the field a lot. But that tells you all you need to know about Joe Burrow. It's not lip service. You know that. I mean, if you're a fan and you don't know that, then shame on you. It just tells you all you need to know about that guy and what he strives to be. He doesn't just strive to be good and strive to be, hey, we won and wow, things are great. No, It's what he said, and I love the word. It's become my favorite word in sports, and I'm using it as a coach myself these days. The standard. He's got a standard, and he didn't play up to his standard. Play up to most guys' standard. I mean, think about a guy having an off day who turned the ball over 3 times, still threw 3 touchdowns. 6 straight games, the man's thrown 3 touchdowns. That doesn't happen very often in this league, and yet he's disappointed, not because of lip service or they lost or this. He's disappointed because he didn't play up to his standard. That's a heck of a place to be. That's why you got to like that guy.
What are you working on Local 12? What do you have up there from Bengal coverage?
So I wrote a column about this is the mother lode of the wackiest games of wacky games. I mean, where you have Joe Burrow turn it over 3 times. You have Jordan Battle fumble a ball out of the back of the end zone. You commit penalties that you don't normally commit. All the things. You have a defensive lineman score a touchdown. You had 2 defensive touchdowns today. Should have had 3. One of them you didn't have because the guy fumbled the ball in the back of the end zone. Another one because another one was Geno Stones. Another one was actually Sam Hubbard offensively scoring a touchdown. I mean, what a wacky game and a wacky season. I don't even know how to explain this game today, Mike. It was the goofiest game I've seen in a long time. You could have said, hey, guys, come watch a football game. This is football. You're going to watch an offensive guy fumble the ball in the back of the end zone. Let me explain that rule to you. You're going to have one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league turn it over 3 times, throw 3 touchdowns, and still have a really good day. You're going to see, I mean, you saw everything today if you want to see an NFL football game. And I still don't know if you've never seen a game, if you don't understood what it was all about.
All right. Skinny, along with Rhett, I want to thank you both for joining us on the JungleRoar Skinny Bengals postgame pod. Boy, he's a handsome-looking canine.
He's funny, man. He's
a great-looking dog.
He's a good dude.
Hey, Rhett. All right. He is Skinny and Rhett. My name is Mike Petralia. You can follow all of my content on CLNS Cincy with a Y.com. All of the content from Postgame Locker Room down at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. You can also follow me on the X at Trags, Trags. And as always, this podcast will be up on our JungleRoar podcast YouTube page, youtube.com/@JungleRoarPod. For Skinny and Rhett, my name is Mike Petralia Trags. Thanks for watching this episode of the JungleRoar Skinny Bengals postgame pod. Talk to you next week.